The results for the end of the year STAAR test were released in mid-June. It showed promising turnaround since COVID-related school closures. In the most recent state legislative session, some Texas lawmakers were in favor of a major overhaul of the test. I spoke with House Rep. Brad Buckley, chairman of House Public Education Committee, who is a strong advocate for reforming the STAAR test.
Okay, so the STAAR test results came out. I know that you were focused more on the younger kids. Those results came out this week, and it looks like the TEA is pretty pleased with this year's results. Math is still behind, but science is up, and also I'm pretty sure, yeah, the reading was up as well. So do you kind of agree with their excitement about these results?
Yeah, I'm really proud of our school districts. You know, we're starting to see the results begin to reach levels that we had before COVID. Actually in one area we've actually exceeded that level, and that's terrific in reading and language arts. Other areas we still have more work to do, but you know, COVID created significant learning loss for our kids. And thanks to the great work of our teachers in our schools, we're seeing our kids starting to have better outcomes. And I'm really proud of everyone and the hard work that they've done. And that's everybody from our students to teachers and our parents that really are supporting our schools and providing all the supports necessary for our kids to be successful.
Yeah, that's great. So throughout your work in education, how has it been working with the TEA on things from the STAAR test just to overall education reform?
Well, you know, Texas Education Agency is charged with overseeing public education in Texas, and they set a real high bar. There is a continuous improvement model, and I believe that the areas that I've worked on in terms of education reform, they've been supportive. We don't always agree, but we do work together. They provide tremendous data and real commitment to kids learning, and for us to achieve at higher levels than we have been. We know where the challenges are, and now it's just a matter of coming up with good reforms and providing resources in those areas to get kids back on track so that we can have a premier education system in the country. And I'm hopeful we are on our way.
Yeah, I can already tell from your answer, but you're passionate about education reform. Why is that? What drives you to get that kind of going here in Texas?
You know, I'm the spouse of an educator. I'm the grandson and son of public school educators, and former school board member. I've always been interested in our education system. I have 3 kids that attended Texas public schools, and have really received a great education, and are now out of college now and making their way in the world, and that's really cool to see. But most importantly, we know that Texas is a great state. We have so many things going for us, and if we have an education system that really prepares our kids for the opportunities that they'll have, we can see real life changes for kids. Kids that come from backgrounds where they're either low socioeconomic or certain challenges. Texas can provide incredible opportunities, but in this day and time, you have to have the educational background and attainment to participate in that. And whether that's college readiness or career readiness, we really focus very hard, and we did this session on making sure that there are more opportunities in areas for technical education and career training, because we have some tremendous jobs available out there. We also focused on making sure we have military ready students. There's never been a more important time to serve in our armed forces. And so we really focused on those areas. But in the end, it all begins in those lower grades. Can kids learn to read? Are they on grade level by the 3rd grade? That is such a pivotal milestone. And so we worked very hard to try to make improvements and reforms in those areas.
Yeah, you can tell that this session was just so passionate about education reform. Kind of along those lines, I know that you've been a big backer of getting rid of the STAAR test or just altering it in some ways. Was there an incident or something specific that kind of gave you that light bulb moment that you were like, something needs to change with this test?
It's talking with students and teachers and parents. And what I feel like is that right now we have a system that's kind of built around one test, one day. And the level of anxiety for our students and our teachers and parents is at an all-time high. I think you can see from our results that our kids are starting to respond, but I do think there's a better way. And I think we can measure students as they progress throughout a year, starting with the beginning of the year assessment, a middle of the year assessment, and the end of the year assessment. But what I don't want to create are 3 STAAR tests. I want real reform where these tests are instructionally relevant for teachers and they're actionable so that we can really have better monitoring of student performance throughout the year. And I want our schools to receive credit for that great work that they're getting and providing tremendous growth throughout a year. We had a bill last session, House Bill 4, that as it left the House really met that moment. It was significant assessment and accountability reform. When it came out of the Senate, it didn't match some of those areas that we felt like were important. So we'll move forward. We'll study these issues in the interim. We'll make sure that that we really dig in on what can we do to really provide an assessment and accountability system that is more informative for teachers and for parents, and also remove some of the anxiety from our students that I know is impacting their level of attainment. So we've got a lot of work to do, but we moved the needle this session, but we have more things we need to progress on, and I look forward to leading the way on that.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that you don't want it to be 3 separate STAAR tests.
Yeah.
As someone with test anxiety growing up, just any test, whether it was something like a STAAR test or something really small, do you think that these 3 smaller tests will help relieve stress overall, even though, they're still tests in a way?
Yeah, they can. What I hope for is that testing will be just another day at school. And I think a lot of times the anxiety comes from the accountability system that's linked to that one test one day. It's entirely appropriate. And many schools already will assess where a student is starting the school year. But if we can use that and use it as a growth measure from the beginning of the year to the end of the year and have that check-in, halfway through, I believe what you'll find is it'll be the level of anxiety will go way down, because one of the things is that these tests we can have results within 24 to 48 hours, so that a student knows how they did, a teacher knows how the student did, and parents know. And once you have that, you're going to have different changes and different things that teachers can do to make sure that they know what changes they need to make, so that students can become more proficient at areas they're struggling with, but also know where kids are excelling, so they can really stretch their legs and achieve at a higher level. So I think we're headed that way to what we call through-year testing, which is beginning and middle and end. But the reality is we do not want that level of anxiety with 3 tests versus what we have now with 1. And so that's why we have to get it right. And ultimately, that's why House Bill 4 really didn't make it to the finish line, is because I want to be absolutely certain that when we make these levels of reform, that they provide the type of relief and reform that our students, our teachers, and our parents deserve.
You mentioned House Bill 4. When you found out that those negotiations just weren't working out, you were running out of time, the bill would ultimately die this session. What was your reaction in that moment?
Well, it was a disappointment. We passed such a great bill out of the House, and the Senate, and that bill in the Senate did agree with us in many areas. There were real significant changes there. There were, there was more, transparency for our school districts to knowing, when the bar was going to be raised, when was that going to happen, what would those numbers look like. It was going to give them more data. It was also going to make sure that we have, I think, a better relationship between TEA and our school districts, so that we have more of a partnership there. We're kind of in the wake of some lawsuits over the accountability system. We've got to get that behind us. But at the end of the day, my job was to make certain that the end product created the outcomes that our students deserved, and that what teachers deserved and our parents deserved. And we just weren't certain that the product that came out of the Senate and out of the conference committee really met that moment, if you will. And so that's why at the end of the day, the bill ended up not passing. But it really sparked a conversation. I've talked with my colleagues in the Senate. They want to have this conversation over the interim. We really want to dig in, look what other states are doing. Many states are moving to these 3 little mini tests throughout the year. We just want to make sure we get it right for Texas. I look forward to having those discussions over the interim.
Yeah, and I think that was all I have, but you kind of brought up one more question in my mind. What do those discussions look like? Who are you talking to? Is it just parents and teachers, or who else is a part of this conversation about reform on this test?
When we crafted the House version of House Bill 4, I had a room full and we had 12 superintendents and psychometricians from school districts. And these were folks from big districts like Dallas all the way down to small districts that had, maybe just a few hundred kids. And we really relied on those experts and relied on their experience with assessments and accountability to kind of build a system we felt like really was the transformative system that we needed moving forward. But we also talked to parents. And one of the things that I feel like is we need more buy-in from parents. Parents need to realize that the assessments their students are receiving or taking in school really are meaningful. And they ought to inform parents sooner. As a parent of three, I want to know how my kids are doing as soon as possible so I can be a partner with schools to help my kids. And now the way STAAR is, the results take so long to get them back, the kids are out of school, right? So we need to change that system that way. But in the future, what we will work with school leaders, we'll work with classroom teachers, we'll work with experts in the assessment and accountability fields, and we're also going to work, with our parents. And students to really to build a system I think that works best and really will be the next generation of assessments and accountability for Texas.
Well, I think that that's all that I have, Representative Buckley. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Great interview. Appreciate being with you. Please reach out anytime.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you.
Buckley says in the interim, he's committed to having discussions on how to successfully alter the test. For 6 Plus, I'm Sydni Walker.